Hey guys, if you don't know me, my name is Nick. I am a full-time reseller and a full-time college student in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I usually do hauls and tips for selling online and such. But for today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I get as a question all the time. I mean, this is probably my most asked question for me every time I do a haul video, and that is how I decide what to bring to consignment stores or buy-sell trade stores versus what I decide to sell myself on Poshmark or other various online apps. So for those of you who would like some context right now, I do a lot of shopping at the Goodwill outlet, which is the pay-by-the-pound Goodwill store where everything is really, really cheap. And so I go in and I buy lots of stuff, not necessarily only stuff to sell online, but I also buy stuff that is nice and good condition for the consignment store, like specifically for the consignment store. And so people are always a little confused on how I choose what to do with what and bring it where. And so I'm really going to split this video up into two parts. I mean, I'm not actually going to split it up into two parts, but it's going to be like two sections. So the first part can apply to anybody who wants to bring stuff to consignment stores. You don't have to be a reseller. You don't have to even know what that is. But if you do, subscribe to my channel and I'll tell you a little bit about it. But the first part really is just going to be me talking about my tips and tricks to make it so you can earn more money at a consignment store or a buy-sell trade store like Plato's Closet or Clothes Mentor. I come at you with this information as somebody who's worked at these stores before, who has sold many a thing to these stores before, so I know a few things about it. And so the first half is going to be just tips and tricks to make more money there, and the second half of the video is going to be me explaining my thought process when I'm bringing my stuff to these stores and how I choose what to bring to these stores versus what I bring to Plato's Closet or Clothes Mentor or my regular consignment store. So stay tuned for that. But first, I'm gonna give you my tricks so you can make more money. So I have my little notebook. I've upgraded from a post-it note to a notebook. So if I gaze down, that would be why. Sorry. My first trick might seem, to a lot of people, it might seem like that's a given. But I promise you, as somebody who's lived it, it is not a given. And so my first tip to be more successful at buy-sell trade stores is to fold your items nicely and put them in either a laundry basket or a nice bag or a bin. I always use IKEA bags. IKEA bags work fabulous for bringing stuff to consignment stores. And this is just if they are going to a consignment store that wants it in bins. If they want it on hangers, bring it on hangers. Don't try to twist and bend the rules for yourself because it won't work. Sorry.
No, it's totally, it makes my heart happy.
Oh, my neighbor said hi. Along with folding things nicely and putting them in bags and such, also make sure that all of the items are clean, stain-free. If they're a little funky, make sure to wash them before you bring them in. And, you know, all of those things that you might think you should do, but a lot of people don't do them. And so you should, because it will help. Also, avoid plastic trash bags at all costs. Don't bring stuff in plastic trash bags or paper grocery bags. Just don't do it. So my next tip is don't overwhelm the employees working. They have to perform at a certain speed, at a certain level, and if you are bringing in 9 Rubbermaid bins full of stuff for them to look at, they are going to be overwhelmed. They don't know how they're going to get through it in the time that they need to get through it or before they need to get to other people's stuff, because people don't like to wait. And so if you're making somebody wait a ridiculously long amount of time to get through their stuff because one person in front of them brought in 500 pieces of clothing, that's just not a good look. And so they're likely to not go through your things with much care. They're just going to go through them super fast, try to pick out the best things that they can see right off the top in order to keep moving on with what they need to get done, because, you know, they got to work to get paid. So that's my second tip. My third tip is don't lurk around the employees when they're going through your stuff. I always find it best for me, because I have a tendency, like, I want to watch them go through my things. Like, that's interesting. But they might find that kind of creepy. And the last thing you want to do is creep the person who's buying your things out. So I always leave right after I drop them off, even if I want to shop in the store, I'll come back later. I leave. I remove myself from the situation. One of the stores I go to the most frequently has a Starbucks literally 500 feet away from it. And so I walk myself over. I sit at Starbucks with my computer. I do a little work online, and they send a text when they're done. And so I go and pick my stuff up. And then if I want to shop, that's when I do it. Not while they're going through my things, so I don't accidentally lurk or on purpose lurk around them and in some way inhibit their ability to do their job better. My next tip, this may sound kind of weird, but in my experience, I mean, I would never have done this, but I know hearing from other people that they totally would have done this, is that you should put one or two of your nicer items on the top of your bin or on the top of each bin you do, folded nicely so you can see it right on the top, because that's going to pique the interest of the person who's going through the bin. And this may be true for some people and may not be true for others, but worst case scenario, it's in the bin anyway. So by putting that thing on the top, you're then garnering their attention, and they're more likely to look through the rest of your things with more care and ultimately and subsequently take more stuff from you, or that's the idea. And so yes, nicer items on top, that is just a really easy thing that could possibly benefit you and possibly not. And that's kind of a toss-up. But my last tip, and this is the most important one in my humble opinion, is that you should do your research before bringing stuff in. Buster says hi. Research what the store wants, research what the store specializes in, and just all around research stuff before you just dump it on the place. One of the things I tell people that is super easy to do that can help them a ton is calling the store ahead of time and asking them what categories they need, because 9 times out of 10 they'll tell you straight up. Like, if I were to say call Plato's Closet right now, they would answer the phone and I would say, hi, I'm looking to bring stuff in your store. Could you tell me what categories you need the most right now? And they would likely respond, hi, yeah, we need men's shorts, short sleeve t-shirts and jeans, and we need women's sweaters, shorts, long sleeves, and athletic wear. I don't know. And so now you have an idea of the stuff that they're actively looking for. Not to say that they wouldn't buy the other stuff, but it's stuff that they're going to go out of their way to buy more or be less selective with. Because if they have a huge back stock of jeans, if they have like 40 Rubbermaid totes of jeans, they're not going to take your jeans unless they're like spectacular or an amazing style or brand new with tags. But say they only have the jeans that they have on the floor, they have no back stock, and the jeans are a little loose on the floor, they might take a little bit older jean, take a little more, not as exciting of a style, just because they need more stock to have on their floor to sell. They're just like us. We always say, we need to list it to be able to sell it. Well, they need to buy it to be able to sell it. That's just how they run their business. That's their business model. And so that is a really good way to know what to bring into a store, as well as have them buy more of your things. Another really good thing to do when researching a store is going on their website, and they usually have a brands we love category where it'll detail, 40 brands that they love to buy, and take note of those brands when you're bringing stuff in to sell. If you're going to bring stuff into Plato's Closet, I'll use that as an example because that's one of the biggest chains in the country. Plato's Closet's specifically looking for clothes for people, for teenagers and 20-something. So the stuff they're taking is going to be very trendy. They are going to like fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara and Forever 21. They're going to love things like American Eagle, as well as just trendy online boutiques, Shein, Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing. All of that is going to do fabulous out of Plato's Closet. Versus like a Clothes Mentor, they're not going to take any of that. Clothes Mentor is going to look for your women's wear, your professional career wear for a woman who is in her late 20s to 30s, 40s, and above. And so they're looking for more professional pieces. They're looking for casual wear, but maybe more modest than what a Plato's Closet would take. And so these are all things you can find on their websites. And so research what stores want, because that way, when you're bringing stuff in, you're going to have a way better chance at them taking more stuff. So those are my big tips for how to get them to buy more things from you and how to make more money at consignment stores. So now I'm going to transition into how I decide what I am personally going to bring to a consignment store versus what I'm going to put online for my resale business. So the first thing that I'm going to say is that when I'm shopping at the Goodwill outlet, it is dirt cheap. I wouldn't really recommend going to a Goodwill or a regular price thrift store to buy things to sell to buy-sell trade stores. Now, not to say it's not impossible. I've done it many times before. But you're not going to get as big of a return because they're not going to pay you that much money for stuff. They're paying about 30 to 40% for items that they buy from you, and then they're going to mark it up 70%. That's just how they make their money, and that's how we make our money. And so I'm going to say buy a shirt at the bins, and it's going to cost me 50 cents that they're going to price at $10. And so they're going to pay me $3. So I'm effectively making $3 or $2.50 on a shirt that they're going to sell for $10. And once you get 20 things that they're paying you $2.50 for, all of a sudden, bam, you have $50. So that's just kind of my thought process. Now, everything that I bring to these stores is 100% profit because I make all of my money back on stuff that I buy from the Goodwill outlet on the stuff that I sell online. And so that's why I do it. I feel like I'm rescuing a lot of stuff that other people aren't going to buy from getting textile recycled or sent to the landfill or sent to another country, and bringing another life to it, allowing other people to get use out of it. And I should also mention that all of these stores know what I do. They know I'm a reseller, and none of them have a problem with it. I've never had a problem with somebody, saying, no, I won't buy stuff from you, because I'm ultimately doing them a service by bringing stuff that they want to their store. They need inventory just like we need inventory, and to them it doesn't matter who brings it, unless maybe you're stealing it, but don't do that. It doesn't matter to them who's bringing the stuff to them, as long as they're getting the stuff. And so that's just my 2 cents on that situation. But the first thing I look at is, of course, the brand of the item. I kind of lumped brand, condition, and style into this part. I look at the brand of the item. If it's a brand that I know is not going to move very well for me on Poshmark, but it's still like a nice piece in very good shape, that's just going to go right to the consignment store in my mind. So things like more mature women's brands, like Talbot's, things like Ann Taylor, things like Loft. These brands are all brands I will sometimes put on Posh if it's a really good style or brand new, but 9 times out of 10, I'm just bringing these right to the consignment store because they sell really well there. Another thing that I also bring to the consignment store regularly are department store brands. No, not like department store like Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, but department store like Macy's or Kohl's or Herberger's. Places like Dillard's, like these kinds of brands from these places. Nice stuff, cute styles, not a super high retail, but nice clothes and that people like. And so some of the house brands like Style and Company, that would be a Macy's brand, or Alfani, or I'm trying to summon these in my head, and they're just not coming, even though I know more clothing brands than any one human should. But you get the gist. And so brands like these, and it all falls into style. So if it's a new style from the last 1 to 2 years of maybe a mall brand or something that I wouldn't necessarily put on Poshmark because I couldn't garner the money in a halfway decent amount of time that I would like, it's not worth my time to put into these kinds of items. Those are the items that I'm going to bring straight to the consignment store. I've probably made more money on Kohl's brand stuff at the consignment store than anybody could ever think that you could make on Kohl's brand stuff anywhere. So that's my hot tip. People really like Kohl's, if you didn't know. My next my next reason why I would bring something to the consignment store is that it's an item that I'm not excited to list. The thing that comes right to my brain is maxi dresses. I absolutely despise maxi dresses. I really just do not like them. They are a pain to photograph. They are a pain to store, and they don't just sell that well for me. And so the majority of the time, not all the time, but the majority of the time, even if it's a brand that I would normally put on Poshmark, if I'm getting it at the bins and it's a maxi dress, the likeliness of me just bringing it to a consignment store is very, very high. And that goes just for different things that if I don't think I'm going to list it, if it's a style that I don't particularly like, if it's a color that I don't want to photograph, any of those things, that's why I would bring an item like that to a consignment store. And then my third reason why I would bring stuff to a consignment store is if I already have a lot of stuff in that category that I either don't have listed, or if I have a ton of it listed that I just can't really handle anymore. And so what I did last week, this was me last week with shoes. I have so many shoes, I have nowhere to put any more shoes until I sell shoes. But if I see shoes for cheap, I'm going to pick them up, especially because consignment stores will mark shoes up. And so if you have nicer shoes, you are going to get paid more, even though you're not going to get paid anywhere close to what I would sell them before. It's really worth it to me to just get them out so I can have more cash on hand to buy inventory that is going to sell fast. And so I brought 20 pairs of shoes to the consignment store and I got paid $200. And that's just one example of an item that if I have a lot in a category that I am not going to necessarily skip it, especially at the bins, but I am going to buy it and then flip it really quick for some profit versus holding on to it for a long time or until I have room to store it for more of a profit. Sometimes my space is more valuable than the item itself. So those are all of my tips that I have, well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them, for how to make more money at a consignment store, and also why and how I make my decisions on what to bring either place. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I really hope you have a good sales week. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.